The International Monetary Fund has released its growth projections for the years 2024 and 2025. IMF has raised India's growth projection to 6.8% for the year 2024. With this, India has once again emerged as the world's fastest growing economy. Indian economy has shown positive trends despite global interest rate hikes and soaring inflation. Strong trends in India's economy can be attributed to robust domestic demand and a jump in working age population. Reserve Bank of India estimates have already shown that India's growth rate for the current financial year can touch 7%. Let's in fact listen in to what Executive Director of the IMF, K.V. Subramaniam, had to say.
So if you look at the the Indian economy now, ever since COVID, it has grown consistently at 7% plus. 9.7% the year after COVID, then 7%, and then this year, if you look at the first three quarters, 8.2%, 8.1%, and 8.4% growth in the first three quarters. So even with a much lower 7.3% growth, if it so happens actually in the fourth quarter, India will average 8% growth, and I think that is very good in the current global economic situation. As I said, 3.1% expectation for the global economy. Now the fund itself has revised its projection for growth for India for this year to 7.8%, which is reflecting the overall growth. I do want to also mention, I think if you look at productivity improvements, this is something which is really important. If you look at the Penn World Tables data, which is actually what economists use across the world to understand the drivers of growth, in India, pre-2014, productivity growth annually was 1.3%, the rate of productivity growth. In contrast, the rate of productivity growth post-2014 has been 2.7%. That is more than double. And I think that is a very important driver, for growth to continue to be, a high and for it to be sustainable going forward.
Well, my colleague Akshat Gupta joins us on the broadcast to give us more details on this. Akshat, of course, good news for India and, of course, our growth. Give our viewers more details on this. How have the other countries fared?
Has issued a favorable growth projection for India to 6.8% for the fiscal year 24. And earlier, they have also, given a growth estimate of 6.5% for the economy. And the improvement is attributed to robust domestic demand conditions and a jump in the working age population. The IMF has also further noted that India is set to remain as the fastest growing economy globally, surpassing China with the second highest growth rate, estimate of 4.6%. And the growth rate for financial year 25 for India is around 6.5%, which has been, revealed by the IMF.
Okay, all right. With that, I'd like to thank you for joining us on the broadcast, sharing all those details with our viewers. Meanwhile, joining us at this point of time is Dr. Sharad Kohli, Senior Economist. Sir, a very good morning to you and thank you so much for taking our time and speaking to us on NewsX. Now, India has been the fastest growing economy in the last 3 financial years. In your assessment, what is driving this growth?
Good morning, Sabri, and good morning to the viewers of NewsX. Indeed, India is the shining star at this point of time in the world global outlook. The global world growth projected is 3.2%, and a very interesting fact which emerges out of this data is that, if India was not growing at 6.8%, by the way, I mean, although I respect IMF projections, but our growth rate is far more than 6.8%. If you look at the Indian agencies like Reserve Bank of India, State Bank of India, and other economists around the country, including me, my projection is India is growing at this point of time between 7.5% and 8%. So obviously, IMF's estimates seem a bit conservative to me with 6.8%. But even if I take that to be true, if you take out India's growth from the global world outlook, the world outlook, which is 3.2%, will probably come down to 2%. And you look at most of the world, especially the developed part of the world, with the US being 2.7%, although I contest those numbers also because of elections. I think US is growing far less than what has been projected. Germany at 0.2, France at 0.7, Italy at 0.7, Spain at 1.9, UK barely staying above recession. China comes nowhere near. So, India is growing twice the rate of the world economic growth. I think it is primarily due to consumption. India is a very strongly consumption-driven economy, with 55 to 60% of our economy comprising of consumption. That's what IMF has confirmed, that it is because of the domestic consumption that India has. Manufacturing sector is booming. Real estate sector is doing well. Our financial sector is very healthy. Our stock markets are healthy. All the purchase managers index, which is one of the very important parameters, Sabri, they are all doing very well. So on all economic fronts and economic parameters, Indian numbers are looking very good. And this is particularly good if we look at the global scenario where, there is a geopolitical tension in West Asia. There is a geopolitical tension going on for more than 2 years between Russia and Ukraine. And despite that, if India is giving these numbers, I think the world should be proud of, not just India. I was making a very bold statement. So I think very good news for Indians, although I would like to reiterate the fact, Sabri, that our numbers are not 6.8%. We are at least 1% ahead of what has been projected by IMF. I'm sure IMF is going to take cognizance of that and bring it to a very realistic level. Although I can expect a little bit of slowdown because of the policy paralysis which happens due to model code of conduct in the next couple of months. But I think soon as the new government comes in place in June, you will see some very, very major reform decisions coming from the government in the first 100 days itself, where this economic growth, Sabri, is going to be propelled even higher for that matter. Over to you.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.